Accused of killing a 12-year-old girl.
Police say these men strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally.
Apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death. The men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungare are affiliated with the gang known for brutal violence.
Kamala Harris was in charge of immigration in our borders. If we had better border policies and not open borders and not these catch and release policies, I truly believe this all could have been prevented. Under her being vice president of this country, my daughter's life was ripped away from her. She had her entire life ahead of her.
Happy birthday, dear Jocelyn.
My daughter is 6 feet in the ground based off of policies that she allowed to keep. Kamala Harris did have one job, and she not only failed, not me, she failed my daughter. She failed Jocelyn. You know, she was only 12. President Trump reached out, gave me his sincerest condolences as not a former president, but just as a father, someone who cares. I believe Donald Trump needs to be back in office. I can at least know that my next child will be safe in this country.
And you have thousands of cases, all different forms of crime. Many, many against very young girls, 12 years old in that case, Jocelyn. The day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. And if you look at the polls that are so prevalent. I see so many polls, but almost every poll has inflation as the number one problem in the economy. But I think that's the number one problem for our country. We're going to get inflation. We're going to get the economy taken care of. I'm real good at that stuff. We're going to take care of it. It's going to happen fast. We're going to drill. We're going to drill. We're going to do other things too. We're going to get Elon to come in and give us a little advice on cutting the hell out of your expenses. Elon, anybody that can send a rocket ship and land it back like that is going to be very easy to cut expenses. But he wants to. And he, by the way, gave us his total endorsement. You know that. He said if Trump doesn't win, it's virtually the end of the country as we know it. And it is. We're on very thin ice. But when you vote on Tuesday, I want you to remember Jocelyn and Lincoln Riley and Rachel Morin and every American who has been stolen from us by Kamala's ridiculous open border policies. She's not going to change that. The day they got in, they just opened it up. They got a little bit tougher about 2 months ago. They forgot to, however, end the flights flying over the border with thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, dumping them all over our Middle West. The United States is now an occupied country. Can you imagine having to say, we're an occupied country? But it will soon be an occupied country no longer. On November 5th, 2024, it will be Liberation Day in America. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program of criminals in American history. It's going to be the largest deportation of criminals. We're going to get them out of here fast. I will rescue every city and town that has been invaded and conquered, and we will put the vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country. And to expedite the removals of Trenday Aragvade, This is a vicious gang, but you have others. You have other very vicious gangs, MS-13. They're savages. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you imagine? We have to go back to 1798. That's when they ran a country a little tougher, I guess, to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. We don't want them. And I am hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. And I will immediately ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America. Black voters are furious with Kamala over illegal immigration. It's destroying their communities, and if this continues, there will have been no political power left for them because all of their communities will be majority migrant. That's what's happening. You're going to have majority migrant because the Democrats want to get them votes. They want to get them enlisted to vote. And what about Gavin Newsom in California? I was very happy to see. Did you see his poll numbers went way down today? Did you see that? Gavin Newsom, one of the worst governors in the history of our country. He signed a bill making it illegal for somebody to even ask for voter ID. In other words, if you're with the state, and you want to check somebody, you're not allowed to vote. You're not allowed to say, "Excuse me, ma'am, may I please see your voter ID?" They want to put you in jail if you want to do that. They want to treat you rather harshly. So he's taken it a step further. Why would they not want voter ID? You know why? There's only one reason. Because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. We got to straighten that whole thing out. We will. We will. I will keep American communities for American citizens. We're going to have American people in our communities now. We're not going to let this. Do you know that these gangs have weapons that are above military grade? And that even the police, I mean, it's like very tough, very tough. In Colorado, Aurora, you have the same gang, the Venezuela gang, has taken over apartment complexes. In other words, they're like me, they're in the real estate business. But they do it with guns and they do it with violence, tremendous violence. On top of it all, Kamala says she would not do one thing differently from crooked Joe Biden, which is in itself disqualifying.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A 5th illegal immigrant accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition.
US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
Authorities saying Train de Aragua, which has been linked with more than 100 criminal investigations here in the U.S., has now been found operating its criminal enterprise in apartment complexes.
Were you the last person in the room? Yes.
If you want to end this disaster, you must, on Tuesday, get out and vote. You got to vote. Thank you for everybody that has voted. We appreciate it. So we're pleased to be joined by some great people from your state, largely. A man who's become an incredible senator, highly respected in Washington, D.C. by other senators and everyone else. He's doing a great job. Senator Ted Budd. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Ted. Hey.